My HOA president just called the cops to demolish my cabin. She gave me 30 minutes. 30 minutes to destroy everything I built with my own two hands. Every nail I hammered and every board I laid. Every blister, every sleepless night. This cabin wasn't just wood and sweat. It was 6 months of blood and sacrifice. Now she stood there in my driveway, live streaming my supposed humiliation to the entire neighborhood, like some deranged queen in a reality show hundreds were watching, waiting for the moment I'd crack, expecting me to beg her for mercy. But what Vanessa Thornton didn't know, what she couldn't possibly guess, was that I had something in my back pocket, something she'd never see coming. And in precisely 29 minutes, when those bulldozers rolled up with flashing lights and county seals, she was going to learn what happens when you back a man into a corner. A man who's lost everything before and refuses to lose it again. The morning sun filtered gently through the tall oaks, casting golden light across my cabin's timber walls. It looked peaceful, almost sacred. I walked along the porch, dragging my hand along the smooth cedar railing, breathing in the scent of pine and wildflowers. I'd built this place alone, no contractors, no shortcuts. Just sweat splinters and stubbornness every plank I carried myself. Every window I framed on my knees. I skipped meals to buy nails. I slept in my truck when the weather got too rough. And through all that pain, this place became something more than shelter. It became my redemption. My mother had died just after the foundation was laid. I remember her sitting in a camp chair with a scarf over her bald head, her voice a whisper from chemo. "Build something they can't take from you," she said. And I promised her I would. Then came the sound of tires crunching gravel, a white Fairhaven HOA. SUV rolled up, followed by a beat-up old pickup. Out stepped Vanessa Thornton, every inch the tyrant queen, clutching her clipboard like a scepter. She strutted toward me in designer heels in a fury that was bottled. Manicured and manufactured behind her was Gary, a jittery man in a wrinkled uniform that looked like it had been picked up at a Halloween store clearance sale. "Nathan called." "Well," Vanessa said, her voice sickly sweet and laced with poison. "This illegal structure violates 17 HOA bylaws. Unauthorized construction, fire hazards, and aesthetic disruption. You have 30 minutes to begin demolition, or Sheriff Whitaker will do it for you." She shoved a stack of papers in my face. Half of them looked like they've been typed up last night. Her hand shook slightly, like someone who knew she was bluffing and hoped I wouldn't call it. I couldn't help but laugh. My hands were shaking too, but not from fear. "Vanessa," I said, holding up my property deed, "this cabin is on private land. County inspected, built to code. Your HOA rules don't apply here. See that line? My property begins 50 feet before the porch." "You're trespassing." I watched her face tighten. Her lips went white behind her. I saw Harold, her husband, staring into the SUV window like he wished he could disappear. "Don't quote property lines to me," Vanessa snapped, voice rising like a tea kettle. "I've protected Fairhaven's value since before you could spell mortgage." Then she whipped out her phone and started live streaming. "Good morning, Fairhaven family. I'm here at the illegal shack destroying our community's beauty. Watch as order is restored." Comments exploded immediately. Eleanor Hayes chimed in with "finally." "Someone's dealing with that troublemaker," followed by flame emojis. 200 likes in seconds. This woman was putting on a show. "I built this cabin with my hands and my brain," I snapped back. From the neighboring porch, Tommy Olson nearly choked on his coffee. "This lady's nuts," he shouted. "Nathan's place is the only thing with character in this beige wasteland." Vanessa's jaw clenched. She speed-dialed Sheriff Dan Whitaker and put him on speaker. "Sheriff, I need you now. Immediate hazard. Emergency demolition allowed under city code, 30 minutes. Her voice was robotic rehearsed. Dan's tired reply came through. "I'll be there in 15. Have your documentation ready." That was her victory moment. She looked at me with a predator's grin. 29 minutes, Mr. Caldwell. Start packing. Neighbors gathered like it was a neighborhood barbecue. Phones out, coffee cups in hand. Eleanor was already sending me snarky texts. "Just give up, honey. Vanessa always wins." But something had shifted in me. I remembered a folder the old property owner gave me when I bought the land. "Might come in handy someday," he'd said with a grin. I hadn't looked at it in months. 10 minutes left on the clock. I opened that dusty folder on my tailgate. Tommy stood nearby. whispering to neighbors that bets were open would I cry or fight back. The old survey map inside was brittle with age but clear as daylight. And then I saw it. The map didn't just confirm my land. According to this official document, stamped with a 40-year-old county seal, my property extended past the cabin. It stretched into what was now the heart of Fair Haven, including Vanessa's backyard, including HOA common areas, including the path that led to the gated community entrance. There were notes from a surveyor. Irregular parcel division of Hayes Ranch boundaries unresolved. Final sale not recorded, 5 minutes left. Dan's cruiser rolled up, lights off, and he stepped out slowly, reading the room. He looked tired, maybe annoyed, but something in his eyes said he wasn't entirely convinced. Vanessa bounced in place like a kid on Christmas morning. This is what happens when you defy the HOA. She told her live stream, blowing a kiss to her followers. But I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at my map. The dotted lines. At the land she thought she ruled, built on soil she didn't even own. I held it up, my pulse calm now like a man holding 4 aces at a poker table. Gary kept checking his phone. Harold moved toward me cautiously, as if he wanted to hear what would happen. Even Eleanor stopped typing. Something was happening here. The ground was shifting. The next morning, I was at Sophie Reynolds' kitchen table. Her daughter colored while we whispered over documents. Sophie had texted me at dawn. I used to work at the county clerk's office, she told me. Vanessa forced 3 families out each time using murky violations. But there's something else. She handed me a folder, meeting minutes. Resignations, land questions. Your map might not just save your cabin. She said it might expose everything. And I smiled because Vanessa Thornton thought she had 30 minutes. But what she really had was the beginning of the end. Mounting her counterattack that very afternoon, Vanessa threw together what she called an emergency community barbecue. There were bouncy castles for the kids, free burgers on the grill, and even a face painter. All designed to distract, to disarm, and to manipulate. I watched the whole charade from my truck engine idling, as she took the makeshift wooden stage like a politician in a small-town crisis. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue and stepped to the microphone. "Friends, neighbors, I come to you with a heavy heart," she said, voice quivering and lips trembling as she squeezed out tears that sparkled a bit too conveniently. "That shack, it's not just an eyesore. It's a danger, the fire marshal told me himself. Unauthorized structures like that are ticking time bombs. It's putting our children at risk," the crowd murmured, shifting uneasily. Some gasped. Others narrowed their eyes. Tommy Larson, sitting in the back with his phone out, muttered into his live stream, "Those tears are faker than my ex-wife's Rolex," which got a few snorts from people nearby. Within minutes, his stream had passed 400 viewers. Ellen Hayes commented under it, "Nathan Coldwell is a menace to our children's safety." Her comment lit up with angry emojis and racked up 300 likes in under 10 minutes. But as I watched more closely, something stood out. Not everyone was buying Vanessa's theatrics. A few longtime residents, people who'd been quiet for years, were exchanging skeptical glances every time Vanessa's voice cracked for effect. During a pause in her dramatic speech, I overheard Harold whisper to Gary, "She froze my accounts again last week. Said it was for the HOA's legal fund, but I saw charges from her spa weekend in Aspen. That said it all as the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long shadows across the community lawn." Vanessa suddenly locked eyes with me, "Mr. Caldwell." She called out, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Why don't you explain to the community why you're endangering their children? Or are you too much of a coward to speak for yourself? I could have driven off. That would have been the smart move." But something about the smug way she said it made me put the truck in park and step out. I walked slowly into the center of the crowd. "The only danger here," I said loud enough for everyone to hear, "is believing someone who can cry on command and freeze her husband's bank accounts without explanation." The crowd hushed. Harold's face went pale. Vanessa's fake tears stopped midstream. "How dare you spread lies about me?" she hissed. But I wasn't done. My cabin passed every inspection. "The only person endangering this community is the one using HOA funds for spa trips while preaching safety and law. The only reason that cabin bothers you is because you can't control it." Several heads nodded. I could see it. The quiet resistance that had long been buried was starting to rise. Vanessa, clearly rattled, reached under her podium and dramatically pulled out a manila envelope like it was a bombshell. "I have here a cease and desist letter," she declared, holding it up to the cameras. "You're being sued for disrupting the peace of Fairhaven, causing emotional distress, and creating an attractive nuisance. Either that shack comes down, or we'll seize your land to cover legal fees." The impact was a